Yeah, so right now you could actually go on our website. It's called getwink.io. And when you go on there, you can sign up for our private beta. Right now, we're still doing internal testing, debugging, a bunch of different things, but you could sign up and be one of our first beta users and obviously give us feedback. And for us, I think as a startup in 2024, our goal right now is to be feedback oriented and actively pursue people to try our product and to help us improve. And we want to listen to what people want. So if you guys want to check that out, you can go on getwink.io, and there you can find a couple snippets of what the product is about, how it looks. You can sign up for a private beta, and I would say in the next 4 weeks we should be probably launching that private beta, and we should probably be going live maybe Q1 of next year. That's when we should go. We should probably be going live Q1 of next year.
I'm your host, Ricardo Martinez. Today, my guest is Salomon Fadel, who is the co-founder of Wink. Wink is a Web3 wallet aggregator, and I'm very excited to have Salomon on the show today so he can tell us all about the project. How are you today, Salomon?
I'm doing good, Ricardo. Thank you for having me, and I'm really glad to be here.
Yeah, no, I'm super happy to have you on. So Get Wink, for people who don't know, like, how would you describe what Wink is and what its use case would be?
Yeah, so Wink is essentially a platform where you sign up, you can aggregate or connect all of your crypto wallets, and you tie them directly to one username. So the idea here is simply we want to make using all of these different wallets that people have for different use cases easily accessible in one place. And we also want to facilitate, or let's say make simpler, the process of sending and receiving or interacting with other people that also want to use cryptocurrencies. That's our basic idea.
Okay. And like when you envision a Wink user, do you envision like traders that are trading a bunch of different coins and tokens and stuff like that? Or is it more for, I don't know, like people that are like super into DeFi and are engaging with all these different kind
Yeah,
of like decentralized applications?
Yeah, that's a great question. It actually, I would say it applies to both, but mostly right now we're in the process of like pre-launch. So we finished the demo, we have something that's working, and we want to figure out who our market really is. But what we envision it to be right now is where the bulk of money is moved, right? The bulk of crypto is moved between businesses, traders, market makers, OTC desks. And right now that's where we're getting the most amount of traction, which is actually at an enterprise level, but in an individual level, I would say it's probably traders, people who are actually high net worth individuals that have different accounts, different wallets that want to move money from point A to point B. And then we're also actually actively scoping out a specific segment that really hits home to me and Christina, my other co-founder and sister, because we really like what's going on with stable coins in Latin America and developing countries, global south. And our platform is actually built originally with the idea of onboarding everyday users and kind of humanizing the process of using cryptocurrencies or sending and receiving in an easier way. So one of the functions we have is where you can sign up, you can create your own username, like if you were signing up to a Venmo or a PayPal, but instead of connecting a bank account, you're connecting your crypto wallet. So you will essentially be able to find someone based on a username or a human readable address instead of having to copy and paste addresses and kind of we're trying to remove this technical components of dealing with crypto on a daily basis. And I think our approach is something that could actually really cater the needs of people in the global south eventually, I think, when adoption kicks off a little more.
So when you say wallet aggregator, like which wallets are we talking about? Like how many different wallets can you use with the Wink app? And I guess like how can you like walk us through the process of how you would like, I guess, add a wallet and then start using it through Wink?
Yeah, totally. So the wallets that you're going to be able to use is pretty much any crypto wallet or Bitcoin wallet, depends on what your preference is, that you can actively connect through a browser extension. You can use a software wallet or a hardware wallet as well. The integrations we have now are relatively limited. We don't have necessarily all of the wallets that you might have today, but it's something that we're integrating is in the pipeline for the next couple of weeks or months. But in a finalized basis, what you're going to be able to connect is like a ledger, a Trezor, any hardware wallet, a software wallet, like a browser extension wallet, or even we're going to obviously have a mobile application where you can connect any mobile app that you like to manage your crypto. So you can pretty much connect all of them. And the process is actually really simple. If you've, I don't know if you ever used like a decentralized application, like maybe Uniswap or pretty much any decentralized app that exists today, our process is just as simple where you just click connect wallet and it automatically, you recognize, you sign like obviously the message allowing us to have access to, or yourself to have access to view your wallet. and then you can connect. Right now, the demo we have is up to 12, but you can connect many more if you want to. There's no theoretical limit on how many wallets you can
Okay.
connect. Yeah.
And does Wink operate like similar to like say MetaMask, where they generate like one set of private keys and you use that same set of private keys for like each blockchain that you're trying to use the wallet on, or
Yeah,
how does that
yeah,
work?
it's yeah. So that's actually a great point you're making, because we don't consider ourselves a wallet. We're more of a wallet of wallets. So I think that's kind of where we're innovating, where we realize people have different wallets for different reasons, and we allow you to actually connect MetaMask. So today you can actually connect your MetaMask or however many different wallets you have today, and it's similar to MetaMask in that you can obviously manage your portfolio and see different things. But when it comes to actually sending the transaction, you actually have to confirm it in your own wallet, which it actually verifies to you that we don't touch your money. It's still your money. It's still self-custodial. We're just giving you a better experience to use it.
Okay. And like, are there key management tools? Like, say I have like 10 different wallets that I'm trying to manage like different tokens on. Is there like a way for me to like save my seed or in like Wink,
So
or
right
would I
now,
do that like in
as
some other
as of
way?
Yeah, as of today, that doesn't exist. Mostly because we're still in a phase where we want to understand our market better and what our users want. Since we are pre-launch, we haven't really gotten to that point where we see, okay, it's worth investing into adding these features. And of course, there's a lot of legal repercussions with doing certain things. But as it stands today, how we really envision the product, it's going to be something that we are going to offer tools and resources for people to simplify the way that they even have to hold their private keys if they want to. But if they also want to stay completely self-sovereign and something that they want to hold their own keys, but they still want to have access to all the benefits and the simplicity of our platform to obviously deal with different people, then of course they're going to be willing to do that as well. So we want to have that optionality for people, but always staying true to the core of why we're doing this in the first place, which is self-sovereignty, but also giving them the experience that people want, which is call it the Web 2 experience. So something like a Venmo, or if you've ever used any other app like Wise or Revolut, it's really easy, right? So we want to have like the best of both worlds in that sense.
When do you guys plan on launching? Like, what kind of timeline are we looking at before the product is like available for end users?
Yeah, so right now you could actually go on our website. It's called getwink.io. And when you go on there, you can sign up for our private beta. Right now, we're still doing internal testing, debugging, a bunch of different things, but you could sign up and be one of our first beta users and obviously give us feedback. And for us, I think as a startup in 2024, our goal right now is to be feedback oriented and actively pursue people to try our product and to help us improve. And we want to listen to what people want. So if you guys want to check that out, you can go on getwink.io, and there you can find a couple snippets of what the product is about, how it looks. You can sign up for a private beta, and I would say in the next 4 weeks we should be probably launching that private beta, and we should probably be going live maybe Q1 of next year. That's when we should go. We should probably be going live Q1 of next year. Yeah.
Amazing. Uh, so with the beta version right now that's available, is that like testnet only, or can you actually use it like on
No,
mainnets with like
mainnet.
different?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So we started with testnet, but obviously end game is mainnet. So right now we're still playing around with the mainnet side, debugging, like I said, and in general, the application's ready. And if you go on the website, or if anybody wants to check it out or ask for even a demo, I think when you see it, I think you're going to realize like, hey, this is a very familiar, intuitive platform, and you're actually going to be able to use your crypto in a similar way where you're used to using your normal fiat currency. So I think that's kind of like the beauty of what we're trying to build, actually.
I've used like other aggregation services for like, I don't know, like BitTorrent or, like different things that I do online, but I think you guys are maybe the first wallet aggregator I have ever heard of. Are you guys kind of like pioneering this new kind of application, or are there other people kind of doing the same thing?
Yeah, look, I wouldn't necessarily consider ourselves a pioneer yet, but what I do like is obviously pushing boundaries and kind of we realized this all came to be because we realized that there wasn't a solution to what we were looking for. And essentially, I guess kind of like the birthing of this idea came from me. I'm traditionally in the finance background, right? Like I'm an investor, I manage a fund, I do a bunch of different things. And I was writing an angel check to a Bitcoin startup, and the way that I had to actually send that money was them just copying an address and pasting it onto their email and just sending it to me. And I said, I was showing my sister at the time, who's my co-founder. I'm like, this is actually how we send Bitcoin. It's still very archaic, and it's not going to be like that in the future. So I found myself telling people, hey, it's not going to be like that in the future. And I was like, well, why can't we create that future today? Why aren't we ready? And it just so happens that we realize, hey, no, we are ready. We have the tools, the infrastructure is there. We just need to build out this demo or this app or kind of the solution to that problem that we
Mhm.
found, which was obviously the idea of being able to use a human readable address and also aggregating your different wallets and managing them in one place, giving you a more humanized experience. So ideally, that's kind of like our goal when it comes to building that out. So I wouldn't say we're pioneers. I would just say that we're just trying to build out the future we want to see. And yeah, that's essentially what we're doing.
And I guess like the models before would be like, I don't know, like something like Exodus, where it's like a multi-coin wallet and it has like 50 coins or 100 coins or whatever it may be, like that they've integrated.
Yeah.
Or like
So
Trezor, where they have like
mhm.
hundreds of coins, but like there's not really an aggregator for like different wallets for different chains, like what you guys are
Yeah,
doing.
I think that's a terminology that we're gonna have to like kind of fade away. We're gonna have to choose because for one purpose, we'll like if you have an Exodus wallet, which I use and I constantly recommend because I really love their wallet. If you have an Exodus wallet, you can have a Bitcoin wallet or an Ethereum wallet, but we call the wallet itself of Exodus a wallet, but we also call the actual, Bitcoin wallet inside the wallet a wallet, right? So I think when I say I'm a wallet, we're trying to be a wallet of wallets is we're trying to be an aggregator of different Exoduses or Ledger or Trezor. So you can have your Exodus because you like to have that software wallet on your mobile phone, but maybe you like Trezor, so you want to also connect your Trezor and manage it from that same place in a view only mode where it doesn't actually risk your funds, right? So you can have that benefit of visualizing, seeing, and managing your assets from one place, but also keeping that self sovereignty. So I think when it comes to the terminology of a wallet, I think that's kind of something we need to clarify for the whole industry, and that's what I think with the way we're approaching this, I think we will clarify that.
And when you say human readable addresses, I mean, like most crypto users are familiar with like the long mix of characters and
Yeah,
numbers like that
yeah,
are not very
yeah.
intuitive. So like, how are you guys like making the addresses human readable? Is it like an email address or like a lightning address or something like that?
Yes. So this is where I think we're kind of differentiating ourselves from the other solutions that might exist. Because when people ask us like, "Oh, but who are your competitors?" and it's kind of hard to place because there's no one really doing what we're trying to do, and it's the way we create the human readable address is in a centralized manner, meaning that when you sign up to our service, you put your email, you make a password, and then obviously that's directly linked to the username that you choose. So similar, like if you were signing up to any, let's say, normal TradFi account like a Venmo. I keep on using that example because it's the one that really hits home or inspired us to kind of push the boundaries on the intuitive platform that we want to build. But even any other thing like Wise or Revolut or anywhere you are usually has like a username. It's essentially an at whatever you want to choose, right? So if you want to do at Ricardo Martinez, that's what you do. And then anybody in the network or in our, let's say, our platform can find you in that way and they can add you as a friend. So the human readable address is essentially a username. And the reason or the way we kind of innovated here is we realized, hey, look, we understand that there's trade-offs in everything, right? Even in crypto, right? It comes to decentralization, security, speed, and even when it comes to the amount of data that you give and how much sovereignty you're willing to give up. And the trade-off that we chose to focus on was like, hey, we understand that the ethos of this is for people to keep their money and hold their keys and actually be able to access their money whenever they want, and no one should be able to touch it if they don't want them to be touched. But at the same time, people do want an intuitive and easy and humanized experience, and they want to know who they're dealing with. And our bet is that people are going to be willing to give us an email or a phone number or anything just to be able to identify themselves and kind of opt into a centralized service operating within a decentralized network, right? So we are a centralized company, right? So you're essentially signing up to a service, but at the same time, we're not touching your funds, and we're actually allowing you, facilitating the process of you accessing this decentralized space. So I think that's the differentiator that we're proposing, where we're saying, hey, look, just sign up with an email like if you would to any service that you usually sign up to. And at the same time, you can connect your wallets, which are completely self-sovereign, self-custody. You use your money, it's yours, we don't touch it. And we wanted to find that balance. So I think that's our biggest differentiator when it comes to anything else that exists out there that I haven't seen either. And I would say the most comparable things, like you were mentioning, Lightning address. Lightning address is a protocol level improvement. But if you want to send I think our biggest hit or the biggest interesting part is that we're chain agnostic. You can connect your Bitcoin wallet, you can connect Ethereum, Solana, USDT, like any chain or any cryptocurrency that you'd want to use, you can use on our platform. When it comes to something like Lightning Address or maybe ENS, it's very chain specific. So if you wanted to have all your assets in one place, and I think most people actually have a variety of assets, they would want to manage, they would want to have like a human readable address or a username that encompasses all of their assets or all of what they're trying to manage, not just a different one for each specific change, for each specific chain.
You keep going back to this comparison with like Venmo or like Wise or
Yeah.
one of these like payment
Yeah.
apps that are fintech,
Yeah.
which are pretty
Yeah.
intuitive. And we know crypto has like a little bit of a learning curve. It's maybe not quite as intuitive from like the UI perspective. How are you guys balancing this convenience and like along with security? Because like with crypto, you got to have security. So like people can't abscond with your funds. You don't connect to a contract and they can drain your wallet or whatever. Like, how are you guys managing to toe the line between convenience and security?
Yeah, so that's actually an interesting question. And I think it's one of the most serious questions that we on a daily basis are constantly asking ourselves, because when we think about what is our core product, we're essentially allowing people to access this software that allows you to aggregate your wallets in one place and manage your money from there, even though we're not touching it. But technologically, you are, exposing yourself in different ways. And one of the things that we're building out is actually a more robust system that people can feel comfortable and confident in connecting to, knowing that, we take this very seriously. And even though we're not touching your money, we're acting as if we were, only because we want to use the most stringent protocols or the most stringent security measures as possible, right? So the way we manage it is, as of today, is when you sign up to our service, you're essentially just giving us data, right? So let's say when we think about like what's the worst thing that can happen, and those are the scenarios that we're taking into account. Like, what are the worst case scenarios based on how we're building out our product, and our worst case scenarios that we're building around? Obviously, the idea is to reduce the risk or the probability of those worst case scenarios happening, but our worst case scenarios don't involve you losing money. Our worst case scenarios involve you losing data, which is the data isn't like if we get hacked as a company, your funds don't get hacked, but maybe they hack our database, which we're also working on keeping very safe and doing our own measures for that. But assuming that's the worst case, it would just essentially be data, and your funds wouldn't be at risk. So that's one way that we're looking at that trade-off. And I think when it comes to also like integrations, because a lot of people might think like, well, yeah, when you're connecting your wallets, there's like, there's different risks. The way that our platform is set today is that the risks, the majority of the risk involved when it comes to broadcasting a transaction or like moving money is actually happening within your wallet that you chose, right? So if you're choosing a wallet that maybe isn't that safe, then that's mostly, it's like this, the responsibility that comes with that self-sovereignty. We're kind of pushing away that responsibility back to the user and saying, hey, you're controlling your funds. This is your money. Also, there's that responsibility that if you lose that money, it's actually up to you. It's not up to us. So we're right now, the way that we're building our platform and the demo that we have and we're building out for the first iteration is something that involves, it's a completely up to the user as they're used to doing today, right? So we found that balance, but later on, it is something we'll take more into account when it comes to being able to offer custodial products or things that maybe offer even more convenience, but require us to be more secure, more, let's say, more secure and less vulnerable for users, right? Because some people might assume like maybe you and I are more savvy when it comes to managing crypto, but someone like maybe your family members, they don't want to be their own bank. And I think that's something that it's a harsh reality that a lot of Bitcoiners or crypto people might have to kind of realize over time. And I think we are. It's like most people don't want to be their own bank. They're going to have to rely on custodians, just like we rely on other people for other things. Like we rely on doctors for prescribing medicine or for telling us how we should handle things. We rely on lawyers for kind of interpreting law. We rely on firemen for helping us if something happens, or police officers. We also are going to rely on financial entities, whether they be decentralized or not, or how they operate. I think the benefit of what we're building as an industry is we're pushing the boundaries on accountability, transparency, and building a more honest system. So if there are going to be centralized players, I think they're going to be more honest, more accountable, and more transparent, which I think is overall a net positive. So those are the thoughts that I have around that topic.
Okay. And you mentioned that you guys are beta testing right now and that you're welcoming crypto users to participate in the beta test. Since the product is pretty unique in the crypto landscape, like what kind of response have you gotten from crypto users? Like are they telling you like, oh, this is perfect, it solves my problems, or like what have they been telling you guys in response?
Yeah, so it's an interesting question because we right now are in a private beta, so we're not even a public beta. We're essentially testing it out internally within ourselves and our closed network of users, or users as in like our friends or like people in this space that we trust, that we want their feedback, and we kind of want to take this seriously. It's not even in a public beta, we don't want to have people's data or anything at risk. So we're taking this very seriously. That's why we're still in this phase. But essentially, the feedback we've had, apart from testing, even just conceptually speaking to people, like we met in the Plan B conference in Lugano. We got to talk to a lot of different users, and not only Bitcoiners, but actually people who use crypto, stablecoins, different things. I think the feedback's been overall very positive. And to our surprise, the feature that people like the most isn't really the human readable component of like, hey, I can kind of send money with a username instead of a public address. It's actually been the idea that you can aggregate all of your wallets in one place. And like you said, I think it's something that doesn't really exist today, at least how we're building it out and how we're intending to execute on that. So the interesting part is we've gotten a lot of traction from businesses. Actually, we've gotten traction from enterprises or businesses who are used to paying more than $100,000 a year just to access these like different like let's say maybe not as we have the demo today, but something that we can easily, add or iterate into our product, where they can access a wallet aggregation and management systems and different like security protocols that they have to do as an institution or as an enterprise. But we've realized that the majority or the bulk of the use case is actually at an enterprise or business level more than a retail level. And that's why the way we're positioning ourselves today is to be able to target both of them. We want to focus at first at an enterprise level because that's where the demand is today. But we don't want to lose sight of the idea that we think where the real change will happen would be at a retail level, where most people can actually access this this application or this ease of use in the crypto space that doesn't exist today. Once that traction really picks up, so I'd say like if you really track like the flows of money, I'd say probably, I wouldn't say an exact measurement, but probably 80% is actually coming from institutions or businesses, people moving bulks of money.
I find that very, very interesting because I mean, I know like there's funds that are trying to, trade a bunch of different tokens and stuff like that. So it makes sense. But it surprises me because I would assume that crypto users have like the same issue that like messaging app users have, where everybody uses like different ones for like different stuff. And like you have like Signal, WhatsApp, Telegram, and like you just have all these messages coming at you from all these different apps. Like, so I would assume that like retail crypto users that are trying to trade like different meme coins or interact on like Web3 and like different apps and stuff like that and have to manage a bunch of different tokens would be the primary level of demand. But you're saying the opposite.
Yeah, when it comes to volumes, definitely volumes is moved mostly by institutions. I think that like our business model wouldn't necessarily be revolved around volumes, and even though it could be, but it's if you think about like on a nominal level, yes, there's more retail users, of course, there's more individuals than businesses, but volumes wise, I think the market is mostly run by businesses, institutions, OTC desks, market makers. It's just like it's a big industry, and I think it'll grow even more in that way. And I'd say the reason is because for the traditional like normal retail users, I think it just works for them. There's no like economic need, right? So but there is like an economic need, but they kind of just figure it out. And I think when it comes to institutions, they kind of have to solve these problems for their clients or for whoever they're working for. And they have these economies of scales that allows them to say, hey, no, we need something to aggregate. We need something to, kind of allow us to settle in an easier and more efficient way. And they're willing to pay for that. So I think what you're saying is definitely true, though. Of course, there's a lot of meme coin movement and altcoins, things like that. And I wouldn't close off and say that they're not our target. I think we would welcome them and kind of see what of that build out that we have today could benefit them and what other features they would want to see. But I would argue and say that it's not just meme coin traders. I would say it's also even people who just want to send money. Like if you want to, for example, invest in, let's say you're fundraising for a startup and you want to raise, I don't know, 100K dollars, or you want to raise $500,000, whatever it is you want to raise, and you want to raise it via Bitcoin or you want to raise it in crypto. And the avenue to do that, there might be some solutions for that, but in reality, like you do need a way to raise money that's more credible, and it's in a way that you can have different wallets for different reasons, maybe for business purposes, treasury purposes, for fundraising, for expenses, and you might want to manage those things in one place. So we're offering, I think both of the aspects that we offer is something that's complementary, especially to businesses, where you can actually have the aggregation of wallets, or you can have that wallet of wallets to manage all those different purposes, where you can label them and easily access them. But at the same time, actually also connect with other users who are retail users who are like, hey, I already use this platform. I can just use your username. And instead of sending money to whatever, if your company was called XYZ company, and I have to paste a public address, this and that, I can just share with you a link or request an amount and easily send that to you directly from that platform. And you can kind of know who you're sending money to, instead of having to, guess in the air and see if you don't know if the transaction went through or not. Check the the last four characters. There's friction with that. I think we can all recognize that. So I think they are complementary. I think both retail and institutions could be complementary with each other, especially if they're interacting with each other through our platform.
Okay. And with Wink's business model, are you guys like operating on a fee-based model, or how are you guys like generating revenue?
Yeah, right now we're not, because we're in a pre-launch, but the way we envision it, or the way we're planning to do it, is if we decide to go more towards the enterprise route, and we continue to see the traction that we've been seeing and the engagement or the interest we've been getting, we'd most likely be inclined to do a subscription model or a freemium model, where you can have kind of these free features, and then you can obviously pay a subscription to have enhanced security or different functions that they would want to have that maybe the traditional or an individual wouldn't want. But that also wouldn't stray us from offering a free service to actual individuals as well. So I think that subscription model would make sense. And then also the transaction fee, like even charging on transactions, depending on the type of transaction and kind of different features that we can add on. I think subscription model is the one that complements us the most today. But we're not closed off to something else, like, for example, in the future, being able to offer like swapping or exchanging directly on our software and on our interface, where you can manage your wallet from our avenue, but you can actually also maybe swap from Bitcoin to Ethereum, or from Bitcoin to USDT, or kind of offer those services that I think is like the traditional model for wallets or for even exchanges. I think that's like the core business of cryptocurrencies today. So something we're exploring with.
Like, I know, like in crypto, there's like kind of this hacktivist libertarian mentality, and a lot of like crypto users use open source code and stuff like that, and are kind of like diehard about that. Are you guys like an open source project, or is it proprietary?
Yeah, I think that's something that we're definitely considering. Right now, it's proprietary, mostly because we want to understand like the security kind of risks, or if in any way it would compromise us to be open source. It shouldn't, and it's something that we take very seriously. I would say that our approach is we're trying to be very rational with how we do things, and not in a bad way, in the sense of like, we want to bring a solution that people want. We're not building things out of ideology. We're building it out of a pure demand that we see in the market, and we want to build around that. And if we see that our customers or our potential users would value that open source aspect and that component of being able to verify everything, then we would most definitely find a way to do that.
Okay. And I guess like my last question would be like, what's the long-term vision for Wink? I know you guys are just getting started. You're in a private beta. You haven't launched yet, but like, where do you see Wink in like 2 years?
2 years doesn't seem like long term to me. I think time flies nowadays. I mean, at least for me, time's flying. But if you told
I
me,
don't
let's
know,
say
2 years
even,
in crypto is a long time. So
yeah, it's a long time. You're right, especially in a bear market. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I would say, honestly, what we envision Wink to be is essentially a bridge from the traditional world to this new world that we're living. And I think most crypto companies today are acting as that. And I think we want to really catapult that next shift from like early adopters to early majority to late majority of users. And I think since we are having this pragmatic, like real world approach, where we understand there's real needs in the world, we're building around what exists today, and we want to stay flexible. So the way we envision Wink is really just facilitating this transition from the traditional financial world to a new one. And even though it sounds broad, I think the way we want to do that is through the experience of how you use cryptocurrencies today. And I think building that experience for people is what's going to allow them to really feel comfortable, and to really feel comfortable or feel even better than how they're used to using their normal products today. So I think when I envision the product that we build is something that's 10 times better than one exists today. And when I mentioned Venmo, I mentioned Venmo in a great way because let's say it's a very user-friendly experience. Also, Wise is very user-friendly, a lot of these things. But for example, Venmo doesn't let you send money globally. And it's not as it's cheap and it's free because it's a centralized service. But in
Mhm.
reality, it doesn't actually solve your needs, especially if you're kind of going towards a more globalized and digital world. And for example, you can use something else like PayPal, or you can use Wise. Like, they're still building around traditional financial rails, and that puts them at a disadvantage. We want to say, hey, we can give you the same experience or even better than you're used to having, but we can give you that reach and that powerful new technology that's really going to like accelerate all your needs financially, not only investment wise but also payment efficiencies, like really connecting to that globalized market that's just accelerating more and more. So I think we envision this acceleration into this new era of digital financial products, digital financial needs, and that's what we want to solve for people.
Salomon, is there anything that I haven't asked you about Wink that you feel is important for the audience to know about the project?
I just give kind of like an anecdote or kind of a little story just so people understand a bit. Sometimes I'm assuming most viewers here are probably already into crypto, but I like to talk to a lot of people, and one of the things I do is talk to a lot of people who don't even know anything or don't think this is as big as it is. And I think the important story I'd like to add is I came from Venezuela. My family came from Venezuela, and we lived this hyperinflation. We came early on to the States, but we lived this hyperinflation. That's a phenomena that you only if you live it or if your family around you lives it, you can kind of understand. That shows you how flawed the system is. And it's quite interesting because my other half of my family is actually Lebanese. And recently they also suffered a huge hyperinflation, economic crisis, different things.
Yeah.
And the things that really clicked to me, or how that really clicked for me, is you realize that this isn't like a country specific thing. People usually like to blame their governments for things. They think their government is the most corrupt, or this, yeah, we're like this because this politician. And no, I mean, yes, probably too, but that just accelerates something that's slowly happening over time. And a lot of people will join this crypto space, whether if it's just for payments or investing or whatever it is, because of a necessity over time. And my idea is to help people come and like try this out and get involved, even if it's just kind of learning about it and kind of putting some of your money in Bitcoin or things like that, because you don't realize what's happening until it just quickly happens, right? So I think the best example I can give is that example of one day we were in Venezuela, and $1 was worth 8 bolivares, and a couple of months later it was worth hundreds. So essentially, your money was worthless in a couple of months. And a lot of people in the Western countries can't really understand these shifts that are happening because you are in a privileged position of thinking, hey, like I'm fine, everything's fine, and it's fine. My credit cards work. When people dismiss Bitcoin, oh yeah, I can just use Apple Pay. Why would I use Bitcoin? You're completely dismissing the whole reason why Bitcoin exists. And people think that by dismissing it, that it's okay, it's just a fad, it's just people like playing around with like these crypto tokens or whatever. No, that there's actually the one who would benefit the most is you, and the one who has most to lose is you. So I think the only thing I would mention, and I know it's not necessarily the question, but I would mention to anyone who's watching, if for whatever reason they're doubting or whatever reason they're just questioning, like, hey, is this even real, is this even a thing, the best selling point for you to understand why this is important and why this is going to be a part of the future is to really understand the system that exists today, to really sell you on why we need the solutions and why people like me or you are actually deciding to go all in and build around this space, because we want to build that better future for ourselves. And we want to build that future that we really want to see. So I think that's pretty much what I would add. And thank you so much for even having me on and talking about this, because I think it's important. I love the work you guys are doing with your podcast and everything, and I think it's very important. It's very important.
Well, thank you for coming on the show. It was wonderful interviewing you about your project and how it can make an impact. Do you want to give out like your social media or your website or anything like that before we end the interview?
Yeah, sure. The first and foremost, the website is getwink.io. For whatever reason you're interested or you want to get feedback, you want to try out a new product. I'm a geek like that, so I like trying out new products too. You can sign up for the beta, and then we'll most likely give you access so you can try it out before everyone else and get your feedback, things like that. And my socials, I use Twitter or X now. It's at SolomonJF. That's pretty much what I use for on a personal basis. And if you want to get in touch, you can hit me up at solomon@getwink.io if you have any questions or any comments or anything.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was a pleasure interviewing you today.
Thank you so much, Ricardo. I appreciate it.